Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over diatonic scales, okay? What the diatonic scales are, basically the major scales, because we've been covering the major scales, right? So, understanding the diatonic scale. And the diatonic scale is just going to be the major scales that we've been working with, okay? Once we understand the diatonic scale, what we're going to do is we're going to find out what the primary chords are and the secondary chords are from those scales, okay? So from the diatonic scales, we're going to find the primary chords. And what's the second one? The secondary chords. Okay, so now, the diatonic scale, basically what we've been working on is what? Which kind of scales? The major scales, right? So, we're going to deal with the major scale. Because that's the scale we've been dealing with. Okay, so now, we'll start off with C, because everybody knows the C major scale really well, right? Now, in a scale, we have how many notes? We have 7 because the 8th note is actually a repeat of the first one, right? So I'm going to put that up. This is how it's going to look. I'm going to put up Roman numerals. Are we familiar with Roman numerals?
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay, so I'm going to put it up and I'm going to explain it to you.
It's just using eyes to count.
Right.
Oh,
so
I know this.
Right. So we're going to put, this is going to be the 1.
2.
That's going to be 2.
3.
3. 4. 5, 6, 7, and then we're back to what? 1. Now, it's 8 notes, but the first and the last is the same note, right? When we have 8 notes, that's going to be called what? An octave, okay? An octave. 8 notes. Okay?
I've seen that word before.
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
8 notes. Now, of course, I'm just going to stick the regular numbers under it. Okay, so that's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is going to be 1 again, right? Now, what do we see that looks a little bit different in those numbers there?
The lowercase.
We have lowercase. Excellent. So we have the uppercase, the 1.
1, 4.
The 4 is uppercase, and also the 5 is uppercase.
5.
And for the, I'm sorry.
Or the other one.
Right. And for the lowercase, we have what?
3, 2, 3, 6, 7.
And we have the 7 also. And so we have like a little circle here on 7. That's a little bit, I know you're going to ask about that, Brandon. I'm going to explain that a little bit later, but first I'm going to explain how we find the primary and secondary chords out of these numbers right here. This is going to be the scale. This is going to be the diatonic scale. The reason why we use numbers is because we have lots of different scales. We're doing C major, we're doing G major, we're also doing what? D, which is after G, and then we do the A, and then we have, what else? E, and then after E is the what?
F.
Not F, but B, right, William? Excellent. Now, those are all different notes, right? But if we use the numbers, we can plug in any of those letters to these numbers here. So if we use the C major scale, like I said we were going to start with, 1 of course is going to be what?
C.
C. Or if you're dealing with the C major scale, 1 is going to be what?
C.
C. 2 is going to be what?
D.
D. And then
A.
E. And then
A.
F.
And
then
G.
after G. And then we got the
A and
A,
B and C.
B, and we're back at the C again, right? So if we use, which is the next scale, which is the next scale?
Secondary.
The next scale after C major is going to be G major, right? Because we have 1 sharp. Say, for example, use G major. These letters are going to change, but the numbers will not. That's why we use the numbers. So if we use the G major scale, then this is going to be G. 1 is G now. Then 2 is going to be what? A, G, A, and then what? B, C, D, E, F sharp. Excellent. F sharp, and then back to what? G. No matter which scale we use, when we plug it into the numbers will stay the same, the letters will always change. So that's extremely important. Now, I'm gonna leave the G up. I know I said we were gonna deal with C, but since I have G up, I'm gonna leave this G up. Okay. Primary chords. Okay, the primary chords. Now does everybody understand how the diatonic scale works?
Yep.
We use the numbers and we plug in the letters. That's all it is.
The letters always change.
The letters going to always change from scale to scale. But what's going to stay the same?
Numbers.
The numbers are going to stay the same. Okay? Now, let's find our primary chords and secondary chords. Okay? Now, each part of our warm-up that we normally do, do you remember how we do, right? We're making chords out of each one of these letters. Okay, right? Those are the chords from the scale. So now, primary chords are going to be the uppercase numbers. 1,
2,
4, and
5.
that's going to be our primary.
And the other one.
And the other
Oh,
one.
and of course 1. 1 and 1 is going to be the same. So, for example, if our 1 is the G chord, because we're talking about chords now, right? Primary chords. So, if 1 is G, this is going to be the same thing.
Yep.
Okay, it's just going to be higher up as we go up the scale, right? 4, our 4 chord is going to be
C.
and our 5 chord is going to be
D.
Okay, now, the reason why these are uppercase are because those are major chords. We have major chords and minor chords that make up the scale. We have major chords, and then we also have what again? Minor chords. So if the uppercase are going to be the major chords, that means
The lowercase.
the lowercase are going to be the what?
Minor.
Minor chords. And that means that the minor chords should obviously be the secondary chords. Okay? Our main chords are going to be the primary chords. Primary, of course, meaning number 1. Now, you know the exercise that I get you guys to play? That's the 1 in the key of C. That's our 5, which is going to be the what?
G.
G in the key of C, right? And then we go down to the 4, which is going to be what in the key of C?
C.
In the key of C?
Oh,
F. I know I have the key of G up here. But so why don't we do this? I'm going to go to the key of G so it'll be easy for you guys. Here's the key of G. So our 1 is
G.
then our 5 is going to be
D.
D. Then our 4 is going to be C. Then I'm going to go back to the 5. D, and then I'm going to go back to the 1, which is G. The reason why I have you guys doing that exercise is to get your ears familiar with the most important chords of any scale or any key. Okay? The secondary chords are more like filler chords that make a song sound a little bit better. Okay? But you're always going to have your 1 chord in any song because that establishes what key you're in. You're always going to have your 5, which is the second most important chord. And then the majority of times you're going to have your 4 also. And then the 2, 3, and the 6 will be filled in just to add a little color. Okay? So, just to kind of go back again, our primary chords are going to be which ones?
Uppercase.
The uppercase numbers, and those numbers are,
1, 4, 5.
always remember that. No matter what key you're in, it could be the key of C sharp major, it's going to be 1, 4, 5. Secondary is always going to be,
2, 3, 6, 7.
well, 7 is going to be a little bit different. That one's not going to be our secondary. I'm going to explain that the next class. That's going to be our diminished chord. I'll explain that the next class. So our secondary is going to be 2, 3, and 6. Everybody understand?
Yep.
Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. So come back to your pianos.